from Dr. Chris Martenson, founder and CEO of peakprosperity.com. He takes us through the shots that came from the shooter that we know about, but he believes that there were multiple shooters. Yeah. Chris, thanks for coming on. Welcome to The Blaze.
Well, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all, and looking forward to going through this. And I've heard all those theories you were just discussing, and I think we can just sort of put those on the far shelf and drag them off later when we're really bored. Because for now, we should just stick to the main plot line, I think. Yeah. Yeah, but I understand. Yeah, you got a lot of anti-Trumpers out there who just want this to be something other than it was, and it was a bad moment. I mean, at a minimum, what do we got? The worst failure in Secret Service protection in decades. Yeah. And at worst, this is an inside job. And if it is the Iranians, that means they've penetrated our government. Because that's what we have to believe.
Right. Okay, so you've done a lot of research into this and kind of look at the ballistics of the bullets that came. Walk us through what you think happened here.
Okay. So we're going to get into some of the detail, and I actually think this kind of briefing I'm going to give now is what we should have been getting, and we've gotten zero of from the FBI, from anybody else.
And that's what we were talking about earlier, is we should have had daily, that's what Steve Baker was saying, is that we should have had daily briefings. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so it was just, for instance, when we saw Ray, he was like, I don't know, did the rifle have a scope? I'm unclear. Like, he's the FBI. He should have said that was a DPMS model XXXX. Here's serial number, rattling it off with a red dot, tuned this way. It's been fired approximately 8,000 times in its life, and it was bought by his father. I mean, we should have known this, right? Just basic stuff. So, all right. Well, let me start here then. So, we all heard the earlier timeline of just how improbable it was. This kid's walking around. I'm going to leave that out of this for a minute.
Okay.
But we do know that at 6:09 p.m. we had people on the ground. You've heard the videos. They're all yelling, he's got a gun. There's a guy on the roof. People can spot it easily because he's on a low roof, and that building's in a slight 3-4 foot depression. So people who are on, I hate to say this, a grassy knoll, can actually see him, right? So he's quite visible, and they're pointing and yelling. And then somewhere between 6:09 and 6:11:33, which is when the first shot rang out, police are kind of walking around. We hear maybe a Muni cop pulled himself up, but the rifle was pointed. He dropped. It's all murky. We don't know what's happening in this time, or why all these police around that building can't seem to find him when literally I have probably 8 different witnesses all pointing and saying the same thing. So it's a little weird.
Yeah, it's a lot weird.
So,
and we found out, what makes that even weirder is that what we mentioned earlier, and I don't know if you were listening or not, but we mentioned that the officers went to look for him that were in the building that had vision of that roof. So at the time that they went to look for him would have been about the time that the people were yelling, hey, that guy's up on the roof, so they should have known where he was, right? I mean, one would think. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah. Well, and that's a very interesting point, because we know that 2 pictures were snapped of what appears to be this Crooks character sitting on a little concrete wall, and it's taken out from above. It's a picture from above. And we know those were taken by one of those ESU, Emergency Services Unit guys, right, out of a window.
Right.
2 separate pictures. We don't know if they were shot 1, 2, but they have some time, because in one, that's him there. In the other one, he's sort of just sitting there scrolling through his phone. So they're kind of separate times.
Right.
Now, we know one of those was taken at 5:14. The other one we think was taken at 5:30, but I'm not positive. But they'd had eyes on this guy, 5:14 and 5:30. That one for sure is 5:14. Then we're supposed to believe somewhere around 6:09, right at the time that everybody's going, he's got a gun, these 2 guys decide to abandon post and go on walkabout looking for this guy. They don't radio it down and say, hey, can you guys be looking out for a guy in a gray Demolition Ranch t-shirt and shorts or whatever. They apparently, we're supposed to believe they abandoned their post. And so what's interesting is the state police of Pennsylvania and that emergency services unit spokesperson, which is the Butler County DA, they just yesterday started pointing fingers at each other and telling different stories. So this is kind of when the stories start to break is when the story starts to break. So I'm kind of intrigued by that. We'll see how that develops. So here's what I did. with a team of people. We just dove in. I haven't slept a lot in this last week. This is full contact sport because my job is to get the facts out before they can come up with other facts, and then you have to fight their facts with truth. You get the truth out first, then whoever's making this narrative up, they're on their back heels. They have to respond. So I have 5 audio sources. Trump's mic is the best one. It's the best one you could hope for in a situation like this because it's fixed and it's a high quality recording. So that's awesome. That's source 1. Source 2, this is a person halfway in between Trump and the buildings where the shots came from. Source 3 and 4. 3 is way out past Trump. 4 and 5 are really critical because they are right next to the side of the building. So we have audio from different locations. It looks like this on a map. So get my little pointy tool thingy out here. So this is Trump's mic right here. 2 is awesome because if the shots are coming from either windows or the roof or whatever, let's just say they're coming from here. This is halfway in between, so we get a nice clean recording. This one's a little further out. So we hear things like the sniper who was here, who took the final last shot in the sequence. And then 4 and 5, though, this is where all the action is, because if somebody was shooting, just hypothesis, is shooting out of a window, they're back in a little bit. This one, these are going to record that sound pretty well, but to the side, it's going to sound different completely. So that's what we're going with. And so when I string them all out, these are all the shots. And a lot of people misanalyzed what happened at Trump's mic because it missed a couple of the shots because it has a feature in the microphone or the downstream recording that when it hears too loud of a sound, it shuts the mic down for just a tiny bit. And it turned out because of that, it missed 2 of the booms. You don't hear them. And a lot of people started misanalyzing all the stuff. So this is settled. And so this is what the shots look like. We had 1, 2, 3. Then we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have this 9th, which I believe is the local sniper, the ESU sniper person who finally shot him out of the window on the building behind him is the only possible spot that shot could come from. And then we have number 10, which is another 10 seconds out. It's way to the right. That is the official sniper. That's when they took their so-called 1 in a million shot. My theory, if it's right, he was already dead. He had already been shot by this round here. We know that ESU took a shot. They admit it. The guy's on administrative leave. Nobody in the FBI is even talking about when did that shot get taken? Where was it taken from? Have we examined that guy's rifle? There's a lot of questions that we would have about that. So that needs to be forced out into the public so that we can talk about that. So any questions? Anything?
Yeah, fascinating. Okay, so the first 3 shots are obviously from the shooter, right? From Thomas Crooks. The next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, those are from law enforcement, or those are also from him or some other shooter?
Well, the official story is that all 8 came from Crooks because they found 8 spent brass casings around him.
Have we actually seen a photo of that? Do we have proof of that?
No, because the only thing we have is they showed us ABC News trying its best to not record history accurately.
Yeah.
Showed us this 2-minute montage of the 2 guys busting through this fence with the security tape, and they run up and they scramble up the ladder, and they're the first guys. But the jump cut, the next jump cut, there's 8 people on the roof, all walking around the crime scene, scattering evidence, doing what they're going to do. So what we don't have is we don't have a recording of the first guy on the roof. We're missing that. The second thing we don't understand is there was a 12-minute lag, according to Senator Johnson, in what he determined, a 12-minute lag between the last shot and when the first person allegedly went on the roof. Now,